I'm Daniel. I'm back at it again. I'm on a roll, guys. Yes, I am back making another podcast, doing what I do. I have a new posting day, which is Friday, and I will record during the week. That way, I have time to record, edit, stories, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I just watched the most shocking thing ever, and as soon as I started it, I started taking notes because I knew I had to make a podcast about it. I finished it a while ago, I think like 2 hours ago. I had to go run out and do something, but when I was done, I was just in such disbelief that I hopped on like my Instagram Live, Facebook Live. So if you guys saw that, then you already know what this podcast is about. But I had to say something on there because I just could not believe what I watched. Could not. So if you don't know, there is a documentary out about an R&B singer, R.Kelly, and it's called Surviving R.Kelly, and it's about the women in his life and, the rumors and the stories and things that have gone on. I had heard about it a while back ago, but I didn't know if it was like, not coming out every week or if it was coming out every day, if it was like one long thing. So I finally had time to sit down and watch it and not have anything disrupt me. I even made like some vegan chili and like got some chips, sat down, watched it, no distractions. And guys, oh my god, it was the craziest thing. So we all know about him. Like, everyone knows who R. Kelly is, young or old. You know who he is. Because he's made fun songs, he's made sexual songs, he's made like family songs, he's been around for a while. So it's not a surprise, he's not anyone new. And neither are the things you've heard about him. I'm old, so I've heard things, but I guess I was naive like everyone else. Like, I know about the sex tape. I know that he's peed on girls. I have personally never seen the sex tape, nor do I ever plan to. Not even for research, because that was a whole nother thing that I will bring up. But I also know, something about like underage girls. Of course, there's Aaliyah. We'll get into Aaliyah as well. So I've always known about this, but then at the same time, he's always put out such good music that I feel like everyone kind of swept it under the rug, or I don't know if like somehow everyone disassociated what he does outside of music with his music. Now, like I said, I loved his music. And I have listened to it, and I've bumped it since I was young. He's never been like a go-to artist that like I just have to have or have to listen to. A lot of the times, I felt like his songs were very sexual, so I was really never comfortable listening to them. Like Bumpy and Grind, like I know the song, but like, I don't know. I liked more of like his funny songs, like Trapped in the Closet. I liked Ignition, like stuff like that. But I know he makes other ones too. And of course, the classics like Space Jam, I Believe I Can Fly, like, this changes how I feel about that. This changes my childhood and how, like, the little people in my life will never hear that song again because I don't want them to know who that guy is. Like, oh my god. It's just a long stretch of things that, like, I'm still coming to realization with as I'm saying it. It was a 6-part documentary on Lifetime. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's so good. I definitely recommend it. I love watching documentaries. I watch all kinds, like, on presidents, being vegan, making honey, tidying up, the YouTube series documentaries like Shane Dawson's. Like, I love documentaries, especially when it has to do with like big figures. Those are always more interesting to me, and they kind of catch my eye more. I've just always been that way since I was young. So of course I was like, oh, okay, I know who R. Kelly is. I've heard about this documentary. I've heard about the stories. Like, it just seemed like a good recipe to watch this weekend. So then I began to watch it, and it was just wild to me. Wild. I don't even know where to begin. I'm not going to go in order because I didn't, keep track of every episode. I watched every episode, but I'm just going to talk about it as it comes to my mind. So, the first thing I want to talk about is the Aaliyah thing, I guess, because that's kind of what's happened first, I think, for him. That was the first big thing that happened in the media where people noticed and were like, what? Now, in the documentary, they said before Aaliyah, he's always liked young girls. Like, his manager and people in his camp have always said that he's gone to the malls and he would go to McDonald's and pick up little girls. Not little girls, but freshman, sophomore girls. Between the ages of 14 to 16 seemed like his desire of what he wanted. So there was always those young girls around, they said. So first of all, everyone knew about it. Second of all, little girls were knowing this and said nothing as well. Not that they had to or anything like that. And I think some producer even said, he's like, I saw this going on, but I never checked IDs. And it's true, like, no one ever stops and's like, hey, can I see your ID? But at the same time, when you look at a 14-year-old girl compared to a 20-year-old, you can tell the difference. I can tell the difference between a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old. There's a difference there. Both still underage and both still wrong. So it's always been known about his little deviances. So we fast forward to when he met Aaliyah, and I guess because he saw her more as a young artist first and then a young woman is what, kind of was being portrayed, but at the same time, you can just tell. He liked her because she was young, and then he liked her because she was a great artist. And yes, I love Aaliyah. I have loved Aaliyah for a very long time. She is an amazing, incredible, talented, stylish, cool as fuck girl. She was gone too soon. Yes. I would listen. The last album she put out, I think it was called Aaliyah, because I remember I had the actual CD way back in the day, guys. And it was like a red CD, and she was on the cover. Oh my God. I listened to that CD over and over and over. Like, I loved that CD. Even back when they were like, oh, if you play Rock the Boat backwards, you can hear her. Something. I don't know. I never even listened to that, like, craziness. But, like, I just loved her. She was just amazing. So she, sadly, falls into the clutches of R.Kelly. And I guess when I had heard about Aaliyah and R.Kelly, my impression always was that she was in love. They were both in love. Not that he had been with so many young girls already and that was like his thing. I thought it was just one of those, like, she just loves him and he's older. He's already been established, as a music person, as a producer. And then they just had that chemistry, and then from there. So not that I ever condoned what they did. Not that I ever accepted what they did. I just always thought, that was my mind, like, oh, that's why they got married, because they were actually in love. No, I think they got married so that R. Kelly could do things to her and it be okay. Because come to find out, on her marriage certificate, and they showed it and you can Google it too, it said that she was 18. She was only 15 when she got married to R. Kelly, and I think that's already kind of been known for a while because I already knew that too. She was 15. Now, don't get me wrong, because like they would show pictures of Aaliyah, and I've always seen her young. She looks so young. I mean, they showed pictures of her, and so she's always looked mature to me. They were showing pictures of her back when they didn't say the age she was in these pictures. I guess I could find out, but she looked young, don't get me wrong, but she didn't look 12 and 13 like when they met. But then again, she's also wearing like dark red lipstick. She had her black glasses on and a hat. Like, she was cool as fuck. Oh, she was so cool. Besides the point. But I do know that she was way too young for him, which I understand, and that's not right. They did like this interview. In the documentary, they show a interview of Aaliyah and R. Kelly together on a TV show, and the first question they asked, because, it's the question everyone wanted to know at the time, was, are they dating? Are you guys a couple? What's going on with you guys? And of course, they played it off. She said, no, he's my best friend. But you could just tell by then, I mean, they were wearing matching outfits. Not only were they wearing matching outfits like couples do, it was a Mickey Mouse outfit. Like, how weird is that? Now, I love Mickey Mouse, and I'll rock a Mickey Mouse outfit, but like he was 27, but an almost 30-year-old man and a 15-year-old girl wearing matching outfits who are seen together all the time, of course you're going to think they're together, and I think that was just weird. And then they kept showing pictures of them, like, in different places, and they were always wearing that same outfit, the Mickey Mouse shirt with the Mickey Mouse hat matching. What is that? I don't know. So anyways, of course, as we all know, Aaliyah married R. Kelly. Then it was annulled because it came to the light that she was only 15, not 18, and she fudged the papers. Now, R. Kelly knew her real age. His group of people knew his real age because the guy who worked for him in the documentary even said, I had to fudge the numbers so that they could get married. And it was such a small ceremony where it was just him, her, boom, done. No white dress, nothing. Now, since this documentary's come out, I know Aaliyah's family has said everything in the documentary is false, especially when it comes to Aaliyah and this and that. So they're very against the documentary. But I feel like, where were you when this happened? How did you let it happen? Even if you snuck off with someone who's older than you to go and get married, like, it just seems so wild to me that that even happened. And then that the parents, I just don't get it. I'm not blaming the parents. I'm not blaming Aaliyah. I'm definitely blaming R.Kelly 1,000,000,000%. I'm just saying, like, in my mind as I'm thinking out loud, like, how did this happen? And then sometimes in the pictures, like, I know she always had that, like, sultry look, but sometimes she just looked plain fucking sad and scared, like, in her eyes. I don't know. It was so sad and eerie. Well, anyways, as we all know, it didn't work out. It got annulled. I really don't know what happened to them afterwards, but I even know that when I was watching this, there were women on there saying he was hooking up with them while he was married to Aaliyah and while he was dating Aaliyah. His vocal singers were saying that they would go into the studio and there would be a girl in every room, and it was to the point where he put a bed in the studio. I'm not a musical person. I've never been in a studio, I don't think. But I've never been in a studio, and anytime I've ever seen one, I've never seen a bed. So I just don't think it's normal to put a bed in a studio. I don't even know how that works, because when I picture a studio, I see, you know, like the booth where the singer is, behind them is like where the backup singers are, behind that is like where the instruments are, and then in the front is like, you know, where all the buttons and all the shifty movie things. I'm moving my hands like you guys can see, but, you know, like where they make the music and shit. And I just never could see a bed anywhere. Like, where would a bed go? Even if it was a little bed. What? So one of the producers on the documentary said that he went over there one time and there was a bed, and I was like, wow, that's just wild. Like, no one thought that was strange. Like, I just felt like there were so many red flags as I was watching this. And I know times have been different in the past and things like that. This was like in the 90s, but I don't think it was okay for stuff like that. One of his vocalists said that she would go and she would get to know these girls and, you know, take them under her wing, and she felt so bad because she kind of had a suspicion, but she really wasn't sure. And also she could tell how young they were. That's just the sad part. Like, you can just tell they were young. Oh, so sad, guys. It's so sad. Now, before I even continue the rest of the documentary, I know people get married young, and especially with celebrities. Like, I don't know why it's allowed or why it's okay for them and not like the rest of society. They even talked about the music artists make. R.Kelly makes songs, and it's kind of him telling on himself what he's doing, and there's other songs like that. Even the Beatles made songs about young girls. Hello, Elvis married Lisa, and she was underage. But I guess it was okay because it was even a more different time. Like, I don't know what makes that okay. Why was it okay for Elvis to marry Lisa and not this? I don't know that age difference either. And also, they were in love. I mean, I don't know. R. Kelly and Aaliyah could have been in love too. I really don't feel like they were. But I know Elvis did love Lisa. I mean, hello, they stuck it out till the end. But it's just crazy to me that you hear songs about, like, underage love. Aaliyah's song, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. I know that song. I've listened to that song. Now, what I didn't know is that R. Kelly wrote that song, produced that song, and made that video. Oh my God. Like, I feel like he put that out there and was like, oh, if a girl sings it, it's okay, and it's gonna take the light off of me. No, bro, because you're still fucking around with her. Age Ain't Nothing But a Number? That's about a girl wanting to hook up with a guy, and she's underage, and oh, her age don't matter. No, it's not okay. Not okay. And again, I'm not mad at Aaliyah because she was young. And a lot of these girls, I kind of got what they were saying. Why didn't they just leave? Or why did they let him do such terrible things to them? But at the end of the day, when you're like, it's R. Kelly, not like, oh, it's R. Kelly, but it's a celebrity. It's someone you look up to. It's someone you admire, and you don't want to let them down, or you don't want to embarrass yourself in front of them. It's like I can see what they're saying and what they're going for as I was watching it. Like, that's what I had to keep reminding myself, but it was just so sad. So then, continue watching it. It's crazy. A whole bunch of women go on, they're survivors, and they talk about how they had to not hide, but they had to stay in a room until he got back, and they weren't allowed to pee without permission, get food without permission, drink water without permission, and they would just sit in a room and wait for him to get back. There was times where people said they even went into the studio and they would open a door and every room had a girl in it just sitting there waiting in the dark. That sounds fucking creepy. That sounds like some scary haunted house shit. Like, I'm not about to open up a whole bunch of doors and find girls sitting in the dark. What the fuck? And they're not allowed to talk to anyone. If they talk to anyone, if they look at anyone, they get hit or they get punished with no food. That's where I was just floored. What? You stayed and let that happen? I just don't understand. You thought that was okay? Like, I know you had to have been raised to know that's not right and a man should not treat you that way. But then again, do things change because he's a celebrity? I don't know. It was so sad. Then we get to his wife. And he ends up getting married to a woman, and she kind of was a little weird too, because she said, when she met him, he was great. There was no problems. That's kind of always how it goes. When you meet someone, like, you don't get to really see their true colors till later on. And sure enough, that happened where she saw his true colors, and he would do stuff to her and make her feel uncomfortable, and kept her away from her family. He did some grand gesture, I think, because she wanted to leave, and he proposed to her with, like, a plane in the air, and it said, will you marry me? Jumped out of the sky, gave her a ring, and then next thing you know, she got married. No family was there, no nothing. Very short, very curt ceremony. And as I'm watching this, I really don't think the wife, she claims not to have known what was going on. She also couldn't believe what was going on, because she even said, like, how would he have time to do these things on top of being in the studio, going to shows, making music videos, producing music, going home and beating me and torturing me? Listening to her, I don't think she knew the full story, but I definitely think she wasn't dumb. I mean, even some other girl that was on there said that she kept hearing knocking at a door, and she finally had to tell R. Kelly something, and he was like, oh, yes? And it was his wife asking if she could eat something. So she had to have seen that he was with another girl. What? And you stuck around? And you had kids with him? Girl. Oh my God. I'll get to that later with his wife and kids and all that, but it blows my mind. It blows my mind. But every single girl that was on there just sounded so mesmerized by him when they met him. He met me at the mall, and he said I looked nice, and he slipped me his number. He called me. We had great conversation, and then he even invited me to his studio. And then it's like something happens between when they meet him, for the first time, and then when they meet him after they've been introduced. And then from there, I feel like if you were getting the vibe that something wasn't right, that's when you would normally leave, but they didn't. But some of them did say it took a few weeks or even months before he kind of showed what he really liked. But oh my God, it's just crazy. Like, they're little girls. They're girls. Like, I have sisters who are so young, and that just scares me that if a celebrity can do that and have that power and hold, then, like, no one's really safe. Then again, I don't know many celebrities just chilling at the fucking mall picking up girls, or going to McDonald's picking up little girls. Like, that just sounds fucking sad and pathetic, like you have no life. A lot of survivors went on there, a lot told crazy stories. It was so sad. Then, of course, came the sex tape. One of the girls who he's kind of been messing with, and I think full-on dating, while he was dating Aaliyah and while he was married to his wife, this girl seemed like she was a big part in around those times. she and him would do things, and she even said she wasn't comfortable with it, and, it was weird. But he would bring other girls, and she could tell those girls were young. She could just tell they were not of age. You could just tell. Like, hello, you can just tell. Anyways, she said that one of the times he made them do stuff, and he recorded it because he recorded his whole life. It was said that he was always recording. It wasn't that he only recorded when he was doing inappropriate things. Like, he's just always recorded stuff, but he also records, like, all his sexual encounters. And people from his team even they admitted that they saw different tapes that they had seen. Not just the one that we all know, the famous one, but they saw other ones and still said nothing. Still said nothing. And I know that these people are old now and this happened early, but some of them had to have kids or nieces or known, like, a sister or something. Like, you never thought to say something and protect these young girls. Like, they are scared. They don't have a voice. They're going to do whatever he says because he's going to promise them fame and fortune. And then come to find out, he's also threatening them that if they say anything, he's going to kill them or their family or harm their, bodies or people in their life. Someone should have said something for them, and no one did. Back to what I was saying, though, is that this girl was having to do something, and she ended up having sex with an underage girl, and he recorded. She left the room, and then that's when the sex tape was made, the famous one that we all know of. So she says, things are done, whatever, with the video. And it's kind of, he puts it in his duffel bag with all his other weird videos. Like, who's carrying around all these child pornography videos? It's so disgusting to me. How can you just be carrying that around? I don't even get it. Ugh, disgusting. So, time goes on. She's feeling less and less comfortable with the life they have and the women and the things he makes her do. So one day, she said he left the studio and she starts watching the tapes. And sure enough, she comes across the tape where it was him and her. And she didn't even know that when she left is when more stuff went down with that girl who was underage. And so she took that tape because she was so embarrassed. And then she said she was scared he would find out. So she gave it to someone. And then that turned into a whole extortion thing where that guy was like, you give me money and I'll give you the tape back. So R. Kelly didn't believe him or the girl who ended up telling R. Kelly, hey, I took a tape. R. Kelly made that girl and the guy who took the tape lie detector test to make sure they're not lying that there's other tapes out there. Well, she passed, he didn't, and of course, we all know what happened with that tape. So that girl got the shit beat out of her, but I do think she got out of it, like out of the whole situation, thankfully, and she's alive and she told the story. Now going back to the girl who was being urinated on, that girl happened to be the niece of a recording artist that worked with R. Kelly. She was like some amazing artist, and she did a song that was really good, and R. Kelly said he wanted to do a duet with her to help her out. And so her niece, who was also into music, she said wanted to be around to get that vibe, not with R. Kelly specifically, just, wanted to be in the music world. So I kind of understand. She took her to the studio. Why wouldn't you? That makes sense. Well, then R. Kelly took it upon himself to say that he was going to mentor her and show her around. The artist, her name is Sparkle. I don't even know. I've never heard of her. The song they made together I heard of, but I don't know if I've ever heard any of her other stuff. I'm more of the one who can listen and tell you I know a song, but if you tell me the name, I might not know it. Sparkle said how she would start showing up at the studio without her niece, but her niece would be there already. And she even felt that was weird and that wasn't right. Yeah, it's not right. Did we say anything about it? Did we do anything about it? That poor girl. I'm not even done talking about that girl. There's so much more with her. So that's who the girl who gets urinated on is, another recording artist's niece. I think she did say she told her brother, and he was like, no, R. Kelly wouldn't do that, and kind of also brushed it under the rug. Come to find out, I think he was getting paid, which would make sense to me. So the videotape ends up getting leaked, and then we all know it got put out, whatever. And the little girl's coach saw the video, saw that girl, and said, hey, I know who that girl is, how old she is. So he did the right thing and went to the cops and told the cops. And that's kind of when the ball started rolling. So after that, I think even before then, maybe it was after, all these allegations came out and he was arrested for child pornography. 27 counts of child pornography. 27 counts. That's a lot. The guy from Glee, Mark Saling, he played Puck on Glee. He was busted for child pornography. He was so embarrassed he took his own life. He committed suicide when he found out. And not saying that's what R.Kelly should have done, but instead of doing anything about it, he continues to do what he does, and no one says anything. So when this videotape goes out and they go to court for it, he says it's not him, and the girl says it's not her. People who have seen the video, her family, her coach, her friends, who all took the stand saying, that's her, that's him, yes, yes. She says, it's not me. And R. Kelly, of course, is going to say, it's not me. So he got away with it. He got away with it. And do you want to know where the girl was this whole time? Yep, she's been with R. Kelly that whole time. She continued to see him. She continued to live with him, follow him, and follow all his dictatorship rules. As a person who listens to his music, or even listened to his music back then, I did not know. I didn't even know he went to court, and I didn't know about the child pornography. I knew about the sex tape and him peeing on an underage girl, but I never really knew what came about that, because he continued to make music. He continued to be a performer. He was still famous. He was still R. Kelly. Then it kind of became, like they said in the documentary, like he was just a butt of a joke. Like Dave Chappelle made fun of him. The Boondocks made fun of him. Like I have always known the joke of like, you know, R. Kelly pees on little girls. But I never knew really what came of it. So I didn't know if it was a rumor or not. So, you know, like the rest of the world, we all continued to listen to his music. Dude, he gets busted again. And he still does not go to jail. What does he do? Pleads not guilty, pays the fines, sweeps it under the rug, and continues to date underage girls. Like, what the actual fuck? I'm in shock. I'm in shock. Like, you're just gonna continue to fuck little girls even after they have busted you multiple times? He even had the audacity, because that little girl who he peed on, like, when she was in school, she was very big into sports. And so the coach who, you know, said, hey, and took the video to the cops, he even said he would see R. Kelly at that girl's games, yo. Like, even another little girl, she said nothing ever happened with her and R. Kelly. She was friends with that P girl. She said he would see her at the games, and she thought it was weird. And he would be there like a doting dad, like very happy. But who has like 30-year-old friends and you're 14? I don't think I had any 30-year-old friends when I was 14. Nope, I'm pretty fucking sure I didn't. I feel like R. Kelly also got so much slack because of the music he made. Not the dirty songs, not the raunchy songs, not even the funny ones or popular ones, but like he also would make like these really great family songs and like gospel songs. Like I Believe I Can Fly is such a huge hit. I Wish. He like did a song with Whitney Houston. He worked with Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, Jay-Z. So I feel like he got so much slack because he would just be like, oh, here's another great song. Don't worry about what I'm doing. Don't look over here. I'm not fucking a 14-year-old. No, no, no. I believe I can fly. And you're like, oh, yes, Space Jam, Memories, beautiful song. Like empowerment. They play that shit at graduations. But yet he's still doing something wrong and no one cared to say anything. No one said anything. So I think by the time his wife was going to give birth to their third child, yes, third child, they're still married. All the stuff was coming out, and instead of her kind of knowing what's going on, because again, she was another person suffering of like, I don't know, Stockholm syndrome. She was like not allowed to watch TV, and you know, any claim she ever heard, he was the only one telling her anything in her ear, like, no, it's not true. So who'd she have to go off of even though she saw these other women. So when the allegations were coming out a second time, she was about to give birth. So R. Kelly sent her away, and the stress of everything happening was so bad that she ended up going into early labor, and her son was okay. R. Kelly's wife stated that, I think it happened, she said, the day of her son's birth or the day after. She was in the hospital, and she was watching the news, and she finally saw what was happening. It was like breaking news about him getting arrested, the allegations, this and that. And she like lost her shit, which of course anyone would. She said that, you know, she always had those feelings, but she never knew for sure. And then this happened. I'm so shocked. And she stayed with him. She's no longer with him now. And they did say on the documentary, they had like psychologists and stuff like that, how it is hard for a victim to leave someone. And it takes like 7 tries. And I get it. And she said even as she was doing it, she was scared. Another victim even said she felt, you know, everything was wrong. So she wanted to do the same thing, leave the situation. And as she was leaving, she kept calling R. Kelly. And she said, if he picks up the phone, I'm going to go back. Thank goodness she didn't pick up the phone. That's karma saying, hey, don't go back there. That's why he didn't pick up the phone. And look at that. She survived. There are so many stories of these women. You guys should really watch it. It was so crazy. So I think that after the second time he got busted for, you know, all the child pornography, he tried to get smart about things. And I don't think he did it in the best way, because no way is the best way. But like his new plan was, now what he did, I noticed, is that he was still meeting underage girls, fucking underage girls. He would keep them away from their families, and then by the time they were of legal age to leave, they didn't want to leave. So their families could not take them back. There were so many stories of that. There are so many girls, even right now, there are so many girls who were underage when they met R. Kelly with the promise of something or love, and parents found out. They were upset. Some of these parents, like, they're not dumb. They knew what was going on. They knew it wasn't right, and they try to keep their daughters away. But teenage girls, of course, like, we all know how we are. We're stupid. We're fucking stupid. We believe people. So they would sneak off anyways, and they would go be with him. By the time the parents found out or could do anything about it, they were of age, and it was like, well, do you want to go home, or do you want to continue to live this horrible life with R. Kelly? And they chose to stay with him. And none of these girls are, you know, getting special treatment, I don't think. Like, they're still all have to be in separate rooms, locked up. They're getting peed on. They're getting shit on. They're getting raped. They're getting molested, because I'm 90 million% sure this shit is not consensual to the point where they were okay with that. Now, in their minds, they said okay because he trained them to, but it's not okay to do in the first place. I think one of the girls said, you know, she was talking to him and they met, they had sex, and like as they were having sex, she said he was like critiquing her on it. Like to call her, one of the things was like he liked to be called daddy and the way they moan, and she wasn't doing things right. And he even said, well, we're just going to have to work on that. And she could say, or she could tell like, that's not right. It shouldn't be that way. Not once did one of these girls ever say the first time they ever had sex with R. Kelly that it was love or that it was beautiful or sensual. Like, no, it felt like a business transaction, and not even one they felt comfortable with, because it's not supposed to be that way. So then starts the whole cult life, I guess, of him now having multiple girls live with him. They all live with him. They all started out underage, not like, I think only one, maybe 2 girls he met were 20, and I think one was like 30. Everyone else has been 19 and under. All the women on the documentary. They're all young girls. So one of them was even like 14. And he was going to trial for the whole thing that was happening with the girl who peed on her, or he peed on. She was 14. By the time that thing went to trial, it was so late. So I know she didn't know R. Kelly like some old ass 90s fan. Like, she was a little girl. But she waited in front of the court every day. Missed school, waited in front of the court, talked to him every day. He noticed, ended up picking her up and taking her to his house. And she became a part of the cult that was, you know, this weird thing. And thankfully, again, she got out. But anyone who I feel like gave him attention who was underage. There was one girl who was at a concert with her mother and father. Her mother and father. He picked her out of the crowd. The mom and dad said they knew of they already knew what was going on. But because it got dismissed, they too were like, maybe it didn't happen. He took that girl on stage. She did not come back. And after that, she started sneaking around and she went off with R.Kelly. And guess what? Those people have not seen their daughter in 3 years. 3 years they have not had any contact with their daughter. I was crying at the end of this documentary. To not even be able to speak to your family, so sad. One girl who got snatched up, I guess, the mother found out where their daughter was and went to the hotel, wanted her, to get her daughter. She wanted her daughter back. She hadn't seen her in years again. And the daughter was like, oh, and this is all happening real time. That shit happened in 2018. And she hadn't talked to her daughter in years. And they showed, because I don't think it was planned on the documentary when they did it, but because they were shooting in LA, she thought it was an opportunity to go find her daughter. She found her daughter and was like, you're coming with me. And she said, okay, come back later. This is all on tape and all that shit. And when the mom goes back to go get her, the hotel's like, you can't come in here. That girl's saying you're not her mother. And if you come around again, we're calling the cops. And she's like, what the fuck? Sure enough, her daughter calls her, or I think she called her daughter, and she's like, hey, they're saying that you said I'm not your mom. And she's like, no, I never said that. That's how crazy R. Kelly is that he has people out there watching these girls every move. So even if they wanted to escape, they can't. So that girl ended up going into the bathroom, and she found her mom. Her mom was hiding in the bathroom, and they escape. Beautiful story. She ends up going back to him, but at the end of the documentary, they said she got out again, and now she's living a normal life. But that's how bad it is. It's that bad that these girls are not allowed to speak to their families. Their families are not allowed to see them. The mom and dad of that girl who got picked up at the concert went all the way to R. Kelly's studio in Chicago and are banging on the door. They're calling the cops. We want to do a wellness check. We just want to know if she's okay. She's of age now, so we can't take her. But, if she tells us to leave, we'll leave. We just want to see her and hear her tell us that. We haven't seen her in years. So they go to the studio and they're banging and no one opens the door. Because, of course, these girls aren't allowed to leave the fucking room. And they're sitting in the dark with fucking pee and poop buckets. So the mom and dad are throwing pebbles at the side of the building. And they even saw a silhouette of a girl, a light turned on and then it turned off. That gave them so much hope. It was so sad. So sad. But again, no one came to the door to open the door to say if that girl was even in there and if she's okay. These girls are so brainwashed. There's one, I guess this is the big one right now, and it's all over the media. Kind of same story. The one who was standing in front of the court was dating R. Kelly for a while, and he told her, go find me a girl. And that was another thing he did. While he was dating all these little girls, he would tell them to bring friends over. So she found this girl on MySpace because they both had a love for R. Kelly, and she told her to come over. So she said that they would be in the house together, and they would try to meet up, and they could never meet because you have to ask permission to go to the bathroom. And she'd say, okay, I'm going to ask permission at this time and go to this bathroom. You meet me here. Never happened. That girl she brought, again, got taken from her family, and her family never heard from her again. And then it was to the point where they were making claims, on social media and any outlet that anyone would listen to, hey, I haven't heard from my daughter. I don't even know if she's alive, if she's okay. So she, the girl, made a video, sent it to TMZ, and was like, I'm fine. I'm okay. But yet she won't respond to her family. She can't go home to her family. And that's okay. So she's making videos, and the people who work for him even said when they saw that video, you could just tell it was rehearsed. Because these girls are not allowed to speak unless spoken to. And when spoken to, they are told what to say. That is so wild. I think the last one I'm going to talk about is the one who ended up going back to the house that all the girls were living at, because R. Kelly has a house in Atlanta. He doesn't have it anymore because he couldn't afford it and he got evicted or whatever. So they go back to that house, and she couldn't even go into her room. The room where she stayed, she could not even go in. The door was closed, and she couldn't go in. She couldn't take herself into that room. So she took the camera crew to another room called the Black Room, and she told us how she just had to stand there, and she would stomp on the floor for hours to go to the bathroom or to get food or to get water. I think she said the most she went was like 3 days without eating. And that was one of the girls who, like, wasn't even young. That was an older one he met, and, you know, she felt very happy with him, and they thought they were in a relationship. And someone told her, hey, don't you know who R. Kelly is and what he's known for? She said she got real upset with that person, was like, how dare you? Like, we don't know what's going on. You don't know his story, blah, blah, blah. So she took it upon herself to go watch that sex tape with the girl he got peed on. She was so in shock because a few days before, she saw that same girl in that video. She's still there with R. Kelly now, people. This is like 2018. That shit happened way back then. That little girl is still with him, hiding in a room. Like, how are you still okay with that? Well, by now, because she was so young, I feel like she probably doesn't know anything else. But he starves them, sits them in a room in the dark with a bucket of pee until he gets horny and decides which one he wants to fuck that night. That makes no sense to me. No sense. Well, finally, I guess, over the years of this happening over and over, and now that he is not kidnapping because they're of age, but taking girls and not letting them go home, those families now are starting to speak up. And it happened around the same time as this, like, Me Too movement. So, like, it was just like that perfect storm of, like, all these men who have been doing bad things in Hollywood. Like, let's not forget to look over there at R. Kelly. He's been doing shit since back in the day, and we still haven't said anything. And now look, there are families who have not seen their daughters in years. So now it's getting more noticed, and thankfully now they have started the Mute R. Kelly movement. John Legend, like Alyssa Milano, huge celebrities are a part of it. I'm definitely about it now. I will not support R. Kelly. Spotify, Apple Music, everyone. Like, if we could get that shit shut down, I'm for it. Like, he's already lost concerts, he's lost deals. Much deserved. I don't feel bad. I'm not gonna lose a fucking wink of sleep tonight because R. Kelly didn't get paid. Because guess what? He's still gonna go home to all those girls sitting in the dark and fuck only one of them. Maybe. Which isn't even right. It's not right if that's not what they want. And of course, these girls now are saying that's not how it is and this is what they want. It's not right. So this year, apparently, well, not this year, 2019, but 2018, R. Kelly put out a 19-minute long song. And we all know he is known for these long-ass motherfucking songs. Trapped in the Closet was like 5 songs into one. But he put out a song this past year called I Admit It. I Admit It. It's 19 minutes long. And that motherfucker is saying everything. But he's still out in the world. He's like, yeah, I'm doing this and that. What's wrong with being with young girls? What's wrong with having multiple young girls? It's not a cult. We're a family. It's not a family, bro. You sound ridiculous. And then I noticed throughout the documentary they kept bringing up race a lot. And I kind of couldn't figure out why. And of course, you know, all his victims are African American. You know, it was very heavily African American based background, and you know, the people in the interviews who also worked for him and things like that. And then someone said in the documentary how if this was someone white doing this, it would have got shut down so much sooner. But because not only is he black, it's like a black on black crime. Well, he's black and he's only hurting another black girl. Like, we just let it happen. Not that we're letting it, but we turn a blind eye. That was such a good point. That if it was the other way around and if it was any other race, I don't think it would have gone on for this long. If there were white girls being held against their will, which happens as well. Look at all these other cults like Charles Manson and shit. But that shit gets shut down so fast. But because it's R. Kelly, it's gone on so long. Like, this was happening in the 90s and we're already in 2019. How has this gone on so long? How has this been okay for so long? It's so sad, it's so disappointing, and it breaks my heart. They did give a little, like, brief paragraph of, like, anyone who was on the documentary, where they are now, what they're doing. And I mean, all the women who survived are doing great things now. Some of them have families, some of them are writing books and are doing documentaries. Some who wanted to be singers are going, in that career that they wanted to originally. But then, there's still those girls out there. The girl who got peed on, the one who got picked out on the stage, the one whose mom, like, took her back. She ended up going back to R.Kelly, but she did leave again. It's just so sad. It's so sad that there's still no justice. There's still no justice. I don't care if the whole world, stop listening to R.Kelly today. That doesn't take away what's going on. How do we make it stop? How do we bring more light? How can we stop brushing this under the rug? It's not fun anymore. It's not cute anymore. You're not putting out a song to kind of cover up what you're doing over there. Like, you can't put out another Space Jam song when that LeBron James Space Jam movie comes out and things be okay. Like, it's not. No one even wants to work with him anymore, but yet he's still making music. He's still doing things that are illegal. He's still hurting people. All right, guys, that was a long rant. I know. I'm so sorry. Like I said, I just finished watching it. It was still fresh in my mind, and I'm still thinking about it right now, like, as I talk about it, and I'm still just in shock. If you haven't seen it, it's called Surviving R.Kelly. Please go watch it. If you have watched it, let's talk about it. And if anyone knows of something that, can spread the word more, let me know. I want to spread the word more. I want this to stop, and I will hashtag mute R.Kelly every time I post about this podcast. And I hope that, anyone listening to this can tell someone about it, or just even bring it up in conversation. Like, hey, did you know R. Kelly does have a cult with little girls who have not seen their family in years? Hey, do you ever wonder what happened to that girl who got peed on? Yeah, she's still fucking with him. I gotta go watch something fucking happy and funny now, because I'm not gonna be able to sleep at night thinking about that. That shit has tears in my eyes. I get so sad thinking about it. Like, for those girls, for those families, like, anyone who's ever even listened to R. Kelly is affected by it now. You know what I mean? Like, you are a part of it too. The people who worked for him, who no longer work for him, you guys let it go on for so long. Look what happened. You trusted him and you brought little girls around him. And now where's your niece? Getting fucked by a rapist. I'm not blaming Sparkle. I'm just saying, like, I'm not blaming her at all. But to know what he was, or have even an inkling, and you still let stuff happen, just like those parents. Not that they let it happen. I don't like saying that. But protect your kids more. I know we cannot protect everyone from everything. I know that. But if you know there's something bad, keep the child away. Follow me on all my social media, guys. I will be posting about this. I will hashtag mute R. Kelly all the way. Get the word out. It was a crazy documentary. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it. Go watch it on YouTube. It's on Lifetime. Go see it. You just gotta see it. It's so crazy that it's gone on this long. I know that motherfucker's not okay, and he will never be okay, but we are a different kind of not okay. So let's stay that way, and let's band together to get that guy out of the picture. All right, guys. I love you. Thank you. Please go follow me again on all my social media. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm not okay. Danny G. Find me. I went live on Instagram. I went live on Facebook. I'll probably go again sometime soon. Just wanted to talk about what was going on. So I hope you guys enjoy this podcast, and I will talk to you soon with a much better topic, I hope. All right, guys. Bye.